So I was going to talk about AI, but I actually think I want to talk about unlearning. Is that
Okay.
One of the things that you said is when something's not working, we're looking at how do we unlearn that?
Yeah.
But a lot of the times when we're talking about AI, how we've done things historically still worked.
Our general approach to things seems to be, if this isn't working, let's just get rid of it. Like, we have abandonment issues in the sense that we abandon.
What we have to do, which isn't always as innate to us as humans, is we have to very specifically ask for help for what we need to. So first we need to know, where do we need help? Where can we point that augmentation towards? Because AI is meant to augment. It's not meant to replace. But in order for it to augment, you got to know where you need augmentation.
I'm just going to say I'm still saying thank you to my AI so that when it takes over, it knows that I was polite.
I, for one, welcome our robot overlords. Okay, hello everyone. We are live coming to you from HR Tech 2025 in Las Vegas. This is Duane Lay. I'm here with my effervescent partner, Crystal Miller. Lay. I almost left out the last. Wow.
We've been married for almost 9 years. How
Feels
do you
like
that?
feels like so much longer, but at the same time, it's still very fresh. Love all of that.
Not in your sleep.
Thank you. Thank you. That's it.
Right.
That's it.
Hashtag DC love story.
It's being able to say things like that and use a CPAP. That keeps me alive from day to day.
Most of the CPAP.
Mostly the CPAP. So welcome to the show, everybody. This is Unfuck It. Our whole idea here is we bring on one smart person to solve one bad problem in any given workplace. So today we have one of my very favorite people to come join us. Jenny, say hello to everyone.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jenny Cody Kangas. Most people call me JCK, and I'm so excited to be here for this conversation.
And for those of you who are only listening and not watching, you have to know her hair is perfect.
So
Fair.
perfect. And my hair is not. So it's a nice little counterbalance. Vegas doesn't love curly hair.
It really doesn't.
If I had to describe my hair, I'd say fine.
Your hair's always fine. It's short.
Yeah, but I mean, it's fine. More in some places than others. Yeah, anyway. So welcome to the show.
Thank you.
How's the conference been for you?
The conference has been great. It's always great to see people, meet new people, be introduced to new technology, and, Vegas is always fun.
Vegas is usually fun depending on how long you're here. If you can be here less than 4 days, it can be a really good time.
And we should give a nice little shout out to HR executive. Like, we are here in the HR executive studio. It's pretty cool.
It's very cool. I especially love the fact that we don't have to actually talk to the people outside, but they get to hear everything we say, which feels like the perfect relationship to me. So we're going to talk. We're going to talk for those of you who have never seen or listened to the show.
Which is everyone.
Which is everyone, actually, at this point, because this is our debut live and in full color. We talk about one thing that is fucked. Yeah, in the workplace. And we let our guest pick that one thing. So, Jenny, what's fucked?
So I was going to talk about AI, but I actually think I want to talk about unlearning. Is that okay?
Yeah.
It's your show. You do whatever you want.
Sure. So I think the thing that seems to be fucked in the world of work is that people have a really strong design bias for how they solve problems. And they get really stuck with how they solve that problem. And then you bring in new things like, say, artificial intelligence that can make things easier. But people are so stuck in how it's been done.
What are you? You're just throwing books. We're passing out knowledge. That's what's
There's a
up.
lot of volume here. Does that matter?
No, that's what it's supposed to be. That's what the board's for. We're good. Keep going.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So unlearning is a thing that I think has opportunity to be improved on.
Have you ever seen it done well?
Well, I think I did it well, but I had probably a not very good way of getting to it. For those of you who don't know, I fell and hit my head in 2020 and lost my entire memory. So it definitely unlearned, but I would not advocate for massive traumatic brain injuries. But unlearning can be done without having a massive brain injury. So I think people just get stuck in their own way. How about you? Have you seen it done well?
I've seen it done a lot, and I've seen it done in a lot of different ways. One of the things that I think is interesting about how people learn is neuro-linguistic programming. So people, there's studies talk about how people learn in different ways, right? Some people learn by doing, some people learn by listening, some people learn by watching. I'm one of the 2% that learn by talking.
Oh,
So like I have to talk about a topic to really understand it.
so my husband and you would be really good friends.
Yeah. Well, and if he's okay with you, he's okay with me. That's all I'm saying. Crystal, what about you? How do you learn best?
I have to write it. So like I need to see it, I need to say it, I need to write it. Like it really, if it's going to be reinforced, I need to do all three, which makes digital learning really difficult for me. Ironic, given that I went through two master's programs completely online. But yeah, I need to write things. I'm much more paper book, tactile oriented. So I think there was a question of like, have you seen anybody do this well? And I really think that while controversial in its therapies, I think ABA has done a really good job of walking through unlearning steps because they now so I don't get skewered online. Every ABA therapy provider is different.
Find what ABA
Hey, it's an excellent idea.
Make sure.
As an opportunity to learn. As an opportunity to learn.
Sure. So ABA is applied behavioral analysis, and it's a type of therapy that's commonly used with people with autism. And really, it's controversial because there's a question about like, should you accept someone for as they are, or should you try to make them conform to the world around them? And I kind of sit somewhere in the middle. Like, there are things that we need to just accept about people that maybe we don't get, but it doesn't hurt anyone. And so let's just move on with it. But we also are in the world together. And so there are some things, some societal norms that we have to conform to. And so if you don't understand those societal norms, or you've never been exposed to those societal norms because of how you were brought up, or, diagnoses that you may have, conditions that you may live with, just who you are, then you need some help with that, right? And so with applied behavioral analysis, part of what they do is look at like, okay, what did you learn to do? How is that working? Is it functional or malfunctioning? And if it's malfunctioning, then there's a kind of a breaking down of that habit and then a relearning of the proper, and air quotes for those who are not listening, way to do that.
Or
That
watching.
is more, yeah, watching. That's the word I meant. It's Vegas, y'all. For the more societally accepted way of managing things. And I think that while there's some faults there and there's definitely, again, controversial, that's probably the best that I've seen.
Absolutely. Well, and when we talk about artificial intelligence, right? We have because one of the things that you said is when something's not working, we're looking at how do we unlearn that.
Yeah.
But a lot of the times when we're talking about AI, how we've done things historically still works. There's just something that's a more productive way, a simpler way, maybe a more accurate way of doing things where I could leverage AI, but being able to identify what those things are can be hard for people too. So I love that the ABA part can give us a system for it, but then we almost have to tweak it a little bit for the AI use case.
I had never really thought about it, but there's a little bit of, I think, an ABA component when it comes to prompt engineering.
Yeah.
Like being able to learn, how do I rephrase this thing to make it more accurate? How do I ask this question? Like, I know what I mean, but how do I ask it in a way that this other, I'm going to say entity, can properly understand it, right? And if you look at like few shot prompting or like prompt trees, like that's all about how do I walk you step by step to get from where you are to where I need you to be, right? And it's a little strange because the number of times that we've said, all of us have said, really, like this is not a teammate, this is a tool, right? It's not a person. Don't say please and thank you. You're costing millions of dollars a year by being polite, which frankly I think any opportunity to be polite, people should take. But there's a cost to it, right? And so it's a little ironic to kind of look at those two things together. Like this is how we teach people these skills, and we're going to apply it to this unthinking, machine that's just spitting out words because probabilistically that's the next word that it's supposed to say, right?
I'm just going to say I'm still saying thank you to my AI so that when it takes over, it knows that I was polite.
I, for one, welcome our robot overlords. But it is, but there's a joining of those two things, and when you get right down to the basics, it's really all about learning to speak to this other person, machine, entity, whatever, in their own language, and learning to kind of build that neuralistic gap.
It's true, but also what we have to do, which isn't always as innate to us as humans, is we have to very specifically ask for help for what we need to. So first we need to know, where do we need help? Where can we point that augmentation towards? Because AI is meant to augment. It's not meant to like replace. But in order for it to augment, it's got to know where you need augmentation. When I'm going to need augmenting on, it's going to be different than somebody else, right? But then you have to very specifically ask for that help. So that's the prompting piece of being able to talk to that thing.
Yeah.
Right. And that's an important aspect of it too.
Yeah, and I think when you think about what's fucked in this, right? So you're asking people to be vulnerable with the machine. And maybe that's easier.
Well, maybe it is
Maybe
easier.
it's not. It probably depends on the personality, right? But there is an inherent fuckedness in all of this because like we're expecting people to be willing to be vulnerable with something
outside entity. Any outside
brain,
entity. Yeah.
any outside entity, something that they can't really see what's behind the curtain, right? There's almost like a Wizard of Oz thing, like who's the wizard that's gonna see all of the stuff that I'm putting in here, and what are they gonna do with it? And that's part of what I was researching with the job search outcome stuff. So for anyone who doesn't know, I've spent several months researching the impact of AI on job seekers and job search outcomes. And one of the things that we found in the research was that it's not that they don't trust the AI, they don't understand how the AI is being used and what the people behind the AI are going to do with the information that they're gathering from the AI. So I think we have to solve for that if we really want people to use it, and we want it to be used in a way that they will be vulnerable so that they can get everything we want out of it. And they want out of it.
Yeah, so to go back, the unfuck card is that we're asking people to be vulnerable, and then we're asking them to ask for help.
Yeah.
Very specifically. And that's something that isn't always the most easy thing to do, is to ask for help too.
All right. So there's a little bit of a little bit of a kind of a dual piece here. The word's escaping, but it'll come eventually. Probably when we're off the air. That there's a piece of like you have to be vulnerable and ask for help from this thing that doesn't really understand the idea of help, right? I had someone ask me. I was talking about AI at a conference a few weeks ago, and someone said, "Is it true that if you tell, let's say, ChatGPT, this is what I'm looking for, and it's really important that it'll give you better results?" And I said, "Well, no, but what a lot of times happens, it's really important because, and after the because, you're giving more context. So it's not because you said it was important. It's because you provided additional context to your question, right? And that's all about being able to vocalize what's the help I need."
It definitely can be. So I'm in a course right now through Johns Hopkins. It's an applied generative AI course, and one of the brilliant minds has done crazy, impressive things in the AI world. And he was talking about how when you give it an ultimatum, where it's like, I am going to like die or lose my job or lose my house or something because of it, there's actually studies that show that the outcome is significantly more efficient because it thinks that you're in danger. And so it's like, it's almost like it's thinking more in the background, which is an interesting thing.
But I would argue that that's exactly the same thing I'm saying.
It is the
You're
truth.
providing additional context.
Additional context,
right?
you're grounding it.
It's more than just, and it's really important.
Yes, good point.
So
That's the point.
now that said, I'm going to give you the counterpoint. It sort of depends on what system you're using because some of them have that programmed in. So for example, if I'm using Julius and I say, this is really important, and I don't provide the why, it's still going to go to its most advanced reasoning model because that's what it's been trained to do when those words are used.
No, that's fair. When model switching became kind of a thing, like that does happen. You're right. And for anyone who's not aware, like when we talk about model switching, the one that comes up, quick sidebar, is always GPT-5, right? And people talked about how bad GPT-5 was at rolled out. In case you don't know, what had happened was, shout out to Johnny Nichols, what had happened was they brought out, hey, we realized through study that people don't change models in their questions. They just use whatever's there, generally speaking, and it's rarely the right one. So we're going to pick the model for you based on the question you're asking. So when 5 rolled out, they took all the other models off of the dropdown, like, we'll pick for you. Then the model picker broke right after launch, and everyone got put into the lowest version of GPT-5, which, if you look at performance, it's one of the lowest performing models. So the thinking in the high performance models were great, but nobody got to use them because the picker broke.
Oh, I was right in the middle of doing some like data analysis, and I worked really hard to get my model to a place where I don't implicitly trust it. I still go back and double check the stuff. right? But like, or I had to double check what I do either way, right? But it works really well. And so I was going in, I was like, all right, I need you to run this analysis, and can you go back and do this regression? And I've done this in Bayesian, and I'd like you to look at it. And God, man, that was the day it decided to break, and I almost lost my mind. And I was like, okay, what is happening here? And I don't know how many things I threw at my computer, but I might need a new computer set.
Oh, goodness. You know, it was an interesting thing that was shared today for one of the sessions. So, like we said, we're at HR Tech right now. Stacey Harris from Sapient
Love her.
we all love her, was presenting on the trends that are going on. And I don't want to butcher the stats, but it was 81% of people were bringing their own AI to work.
Mm-hmm.
And a significant portion of that AI that was being brought to work was the free model. And so this is specific to the HR space.
And why does that matter that it's the free model? What's the difference?
Why does that matter? Why does that matter? Because with the free model, you're giving your information back to the model and training it. There's no moat around it to protect your information. And in the world of HR, we deal with things that are relatively important. They need moats. That's a good way to
So
put it.
so here's kind of a free tip, pro tip for everybody. If you're not paying for it, you're the product. Like, just so you
You
know,
are training.
you are either training their product so they can sell it and then do a better job of selling it, whatever, or you are straight up the product that they are selling to someone else. But if it's free, you're the product, and we don't give people our info for free. We should not do that.
You should not. No.
Okay.
Is that a mic drop moment? I don't know.
I think it was
these are our
definitely.
mics, so we probably should not drop them.
I'm not allowed to throw things at the mics, I've been told. So
Or drop them.
okay, so how do we then unfuck this? We've talked about what's but we haven't really talked about some practical ways that people can kind of unfuck unlearning.
Oh, I thought I just had to bring the thing that was fucked. I didn't know that I had to bring
No.
it.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, if you don't have a solution, this goes back to the old thing. Like, if you've identified the problem and you have a plan, we'll follow it. But if you don't have a plan, we expect you to do our plan. But we don't have a plan, so we expect that you have a plan for us to follow.
The plan here, the person who has no contacts from the last 5 years past is going to have a plan. I think the first thing is we need to gain awareness of when we are stuck in the way how we've always did that. You know, like in the talent acquisition space, that might be like I only post to Indeed, or I only post to LinkedIn, or I can't do these different outside the box things, right? Like we have a design bias for how things have been done before. And so I think first is just that gaining awareness of when we're getting stuck.
Yeah.
And then it goes into that action piece of like challenging us. Is there a different way? Is there a different way I could do this? Is there a different thing I could try?
Yeah.
I don't know. What are your thoughts, Crystal?
Yeah, I think along those same lines, when you look at to get kind of to your point, like, hey, in TA, this is kind of where we have this issue. Let's do it here. When we look at HR as a whole, our general approach to things seems to be, if this isn't working, let's just get rid of it. Whether that's a person, a tech, whatever. Like, we have abandonment issues in the sense that we abandon a lot, right? And so, hips don't work. We know that. Like, there's a lot of data that says they just don't work, but we still do them because it's the thing we've always done. And we use that as the tool with an expectation of change. So I think, like, if we were to take this idea of unlearning and apply it to performance improvement,
Absolutely.
right? We could say, hey, here's where we're not meeting the expectations that need to be met in order for you to be successful, for us to be successful. Let's figure out how we got here. How do you do these things? And if it's not the way it needs to be done, and people generally know, like, especially if you're managing someone, how they're supposed to do their jobs, right? So if it's not happening the way it's supposed to happen for your team, then okay, let's make some changes here. First, we've got to stop doing these things. And I want you to work with this person over here, or take this course, or do this thing. Just start peeling back those layers until you get to, now we've broken down the parts that aren't serving you in this job and aren't serving us. And here's how we build it back up. And use that PIP time frame that you were using to kind of ready their firing and abandonment to actually break down the bad habits and build up the build and stuff.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think it's a great idea.
So because of the way my brain is wired, I tend to revert everything back to process design. And I know. So, I've made the joke, although it's actually true many times, like there was a point, like my only marketable skill is being willing to ask really dumb questions and then sit quietly until someone answers them. And so much of what happens from day to day, we just do because someone else told us that that's what we're supposed to do, but they don't know the why. Like, so you'll end up with a process where you fill out a form in triplicate and then throw the first 2 copies away, right? The story about Zig Ziglar's grandmother's ham, right? For anybody who doesn't know that, his mother's making this Christmas ham, and she cuts a piece off of the end of it, put it in, and he asked, like, well, where did you learn this? Well, this came from my mother. It's been passed down for generations. And why do you cut the end of the ham off? So, well, I don't really know. This is what I was taught to do, right? And so he goes upstream to his grandmother and says, so why do we cut off this end of it? Like, why do we do that? Why is that important? And her response was, oh, well, the ham wouldn't fit in the pan that I have, so I had to cut these. Right. And it's, well, I do it because the person before me did it, right?
Yeah.
So if when we're talking about the willingness to put your hand up and say, I need help, right, there is a kind of an inherent assumption that you're supposed to know how to do your job. Because if so, you wouldn't be in it. If you didn't know, you wouldn't be in that job, but you are, so you must know. So it's really hard for people to say, I don't actually know what this means or what to do here or why we're doing it. Like, that's hard. And that's being vulnerable in a way that, especially in the workplace, a lot of people aren't comfortable with.
So we have to create that psychological safety.
Psychological safety is an absolute necessary for unlearning to exist in the first place.
And on that note, we got to wrap up. So if people wanted to find and connect with you, how could they do that?
You can find me on LinkedIn. Jenny Cody Kangas, like I said, JCK for short. That's just the initials of my name put together and what everybody tends to call me in this days. But LinkedIn would be a great way.
Okay.
Excellent.
And next time people wanted to see you in person, if it was the traveling type, the conference type, what's the next show you'll be at?
I will be at RecFest next, just in a couple weeks in Nashville. Will you guys be there as well?
I believe we will be in Nashville. We've got some plans. We should have a good time. Maybe we'll even get together again and do another show.
I love it. I love it. Well, thanks for having me here today and to the HR executive team.
Yes. And for anybody who hasn't heard, we do have this podcast. It will be a recurring thing on the Work Defined Network. Take a listen. Talk soon.
All right. Cheers.
Sounds good.